Welcome back to every horror film where horror is forever. And today we continue our marathon of A Nightmare on Elm Street, where we review all the films in the franchise. Today we are reviewing A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. Jeff, what's going on? How you doing?
We are about four movies into this, and I gotta say, franchise fatigue is starting to set in with me. I don't know if it's with you, but I mean, obviously, we know our feelings about Halloween 4, and franchise fatigue didn't set in then. But I don't know what it is about Freddy, man, but I'm
I
feeling a little fatigued.
I started to feel fatigue at a certain point in this franchise. Not this film, but we're coming up on it soon. But I do understand your point. I think it is very easy to get franchise fatigue, especially if you're just going on a marathon of these movies where you're
Yeah.
just like, okay, hey, we're gonna watch all of them and we're just gonna go back to back to back to back to back. It is very, I don't care what series you watch, it gets, annoying. I think even in Halloween, our favorite franchise, you're just like, oh my God, please stop now.
Yeah, yeah, and these movies back in the 80s dropped a year apart. Bang, 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 year apart, year apart, year. They were churning these things out. I don't even think Halloween did that. So I wonder what the reception was then. I wonder if oversaturation and franchise fatigue was setting in then. Obviously not, because Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master is the highest grossing of the franchise.
Correct.
So height of his popularity is what is commonly tossed around with this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this was my first time ever watching this movie. I've only made it to the first three films before I just kind of stopped, and not intentionally. I just never got around to watching all the movies past number three. So
Mhm.
this is my first time seeing this movie. And what about you?
I said it in I think every other Freddy review that I've seen. I have bits and pieces that come back to me in memory, and they're always the Freddy scenes. This, I think, is the first one I have no recollection of. I think this was my first viewing. I could be wrong, but I didn't know shit about this movie. This is completely new to me, so I was going into it blind. And as it's turned out, with most of this franchise, that's just the way it is, and I think it's better that way.
Absolutely. I agree. So for me, if you watch our part three series review, the the fandom, the fans of this franchise, for the most part, really much love this movie. It seemed like we didn't really feel the same way. There were some things we did like, some things we didn't like, but at least I could say for us, it was not, I don't know, we're gonna rank them at the end, but for me, it was not my favorite of all time in the franchise.
How did you feel about this one compared to that?
I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I really like this movie a lot.
Really?
I
Huh.
actually, I'm gonna say it now. This is gonna get me crucified in the comments. Or what is the horror movie that the what is it in Family Guy where it's like you've been lucified or
You've been Brucified.
yeah. I gotta be honest. I enjoyed this movie more than the third film. I
Wow.
did. I did. I know that might be a hot take in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, but I just want to put it out there. I'm going to try to make my case in this review. And at the same time, keep in mind that this is the first time I've ever seen this movie. And I've only seen part three, maybe two or three times. It's been a lot. So over the years, the more I go back and watch these movies, my ranking and opinion could change. I already think about our Halloween franchise series, and man, I kind of want to review those again.
I
Do
know.
see if I feel the same way. So it could change, but for my viewing as of this moment in time, I actually enjoyed this film. This film was directed by Rennie Harlan, who is a pretty I would say a well-known actor or director, excuse me. He's directed a couple things. He's also directing, I don't know if you know this, they're coming out with a trilogy of The Strangers, and he's directing all three films, and apparently they're
Wow.
all three going to come out in the same year,
Oh, wow.
which it's probably going to be a streaming service type deal.
Yeah.
I don't know if The Strangers needed a reboot. It's not like an old franchise that's historic and all this stuff, but whatever. Rennie Harlan's directed some stuff, and I got to be honest, I really liked his style. in this movie. It's different. I don't really know how to explain the way I liked it, but visually, just the things he did with the camera and some of the shots, for me, I thought it was interesting, and I actually enjoyed it. What are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, Rennie Harlan is not a name that I was familiar with. I mean, I know Die Hard 2. I'm pretty sure he did Die Hard 2. Don't quote me on that though.
No, he did.
Um, okay. Other than that, I think A Long Kiss Goodnight maybe, but I haven't seen that. Rennie Harlan is not a household name, especially not in horror, at least not yet. Um, but he brought his own unique flavor to it. You know, he wasn't doing it. He wasn't doing it paint by numbers. You know, he was doing the best he could with what he had, and what he had was extremely limited time and limited means of production. Rennie Harlan, I had to read up on it. Rennie Harlan grinded for the position of director on this. I don't know how true it is, but he was like staked outside of New Line Cinemas, like just begging for the job, begging for the job. And they were looking for other directors and they couldn't land one. And Rennie Harlan finally got it. And they were like, hey, it's January, man. And get this movie made. Rennie Harlan grinded, and the grind mentality trickled over into the actors and the sets, caused a little bit of tensions. And the rest is history. You know, Rennie Harlan, I wouldn't say blew me away. I don't think he's anyone's top director. I don't know enough about him, but he
Well,
he
you're
understood
looking
the
at the
assignment.
biggest Rennie Harlan fan of all time, and I take that as I'm just kidding. But yeah, I do love the fact that he just kept asking for this role. Like, I feel like the next time I want something, I'm like at a store, I'm just gonna go out front and say, "Hey, I want this." They're gonna say no. Okay, I'll just stand here.
You know what?
I'll keep asking.
Working in retail for as long as I have, you'd be surprised how many people actually do that.
Well, but would you ever give in?
No, of course not. Door's locked. Goodbye.
Bye. um, but yeah, I actually enjoy this movie. I really did. Rennie Harlan, maybe not the most famous director, but he's done a couple things, and I just enjoyed the style. And I can already I want to address this before we get into the movie. For part three, I said that I did not like the campy Freddy. I preferred my Freddy, dark, mean, mysterious, and that is still true. That's how I prefer my Freddy. But in this film, in the last film, they were still kind of trying to,
Find
it was
that.
still kind of 50-50. It was,
Mhm.
hey, he's kind of campy, he's kind of turning MTV style, but he's also at the same time, still kind of dark. So they had a tough blend. To me, it didn't, they had a tough time making that happen. In this film, it's full on camp, but I know that, and it's done in a way where I know it and I can expect it, so I actually enjoy it. I don't know if that makes any sense or not.
It does. It does, because when you go into a movie expecting a serious movie and you get camp, if you're anything like me, pissed immediately. I don't want that. I never wanted that. That's gross. It's like biting into a burger.
Yes.
It's like biting into a burger and getting ice cream. It's like, yeah, I like ice cream, but I wanted a burger right now. When you go into it expecting camp and you get camp, it's a little easier to swallow. Like I think of like Batman Forever. Maybe people didn't expect camp, but when Batman and Robin came around, they
Yep.
expected camp, so they were able to like laugh at it a little better.
Correct.
This movie, this time around, I expected camp. I'm surprised I didn't get as much as I anticipated, though. I kind of, Freddy coming back with a dog pissing fire. I kind of expected it to go roller coaster from there, but I don't think it really got crazier than that in terms of camp. But I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah, it wasn't. I would say it was more not like camp, like hokey, funny. Like, yeah, there are a couple things, with the when he's eating the pizza, the soul food, and he's
Mhm.
digging in, like you got things like that. And then when he's on the beach, but I think the scenes where they try to do the camp, it's actually done in a way where it's kind of humorous and it's fun. It's not annoying. It's
Yeah.
kind of what I'm trying to say. I was fine with it. So let's get into the movie. So we still have our three main characters from the last film, our dream warriors. We've got Kristen, Joey, and Kincaid. They all survived part three. However, in this film, which I didn't even think about until I looked it up, they do not bring the doctor back. Dr. Gordon, Dr. Neil, whatever his name was,
Yeah.
he's not in this movie. And I've been trying to look up why. Maybe it was a creative decision. Like, hey, we have a new director. They don't want to bring this guy back, but I don't think he's ever seen again in the franchise. It's kind of weird to me.
Yeah, maybe it's because they took it out of the setting of the hospital. Maybe he's just working, but I think you're probably right. I think they just couldn't get him, didn't have time to get him, settled with what they had. I mean, they didn't even get Patricia Arquette, which I'm not gonna lie, threw me off. Didn't know about this movie. Didn't read the bio on the back. I didn't know what the story was. So this blonde girl on screen, I thought was completely new. It took me a good 10 minutes to be like, "That's her." Didn't it? Didn't and I don't think it ever. I don't think it ever fused in my brain that it's the same character. They're so different.
Yeah.
It never really connected with me.
Yeah, I as much as I haven't seen these later films, I know a lot about them. Just I've seen Never Sleep Again, the documentary, a couple times. So I've seen those before I've even watched all the films. So I did know that. Um, you got Patricia Arquette not in this movie. Tuesday Night is playing the character of Kristen. They are two different, the same character, but they're different. I I don't think Tuesday Night was bad. I mean, I think she was okay. It wasn't the worst, but it wasn't the best. I got behind it. She had a couple lines here and there that I was like, yeah, it's okay. But then she did a couple things that I thought were fine. It would have been nice to have Patricia Arquette back just because to keep that continuity because of what happens a little bit later on in the film with all them kind of reuniting. But
Yeah.
I thought it was okay.
Yeah. Uh, a lot of people are really hung up on the Patricia Arquette thing. But I'm not able to look past it, but let's take it for what it is. We got Kincaid back, we got the mute kid back, who talks now. And in Dream Warriors, he could only talk in his dream. I don't
I think
remember
it
him talking
Well,
outside of it.
at the very end of Dream Warriors, when he like screams and he like breaks the glass, I think he
Oh,
kind of
okay.
starts talking. And then I guess since Freddy's gone, he's like relieved and he can kind of start speaking now. So yeah, we'll start it off. They pretty much living normal again. They're going to Springwood High. Everything's gone. It's a year after this has happened in the timeline, and guess what? If you didn't expect it, Freddy's back.
What?
And I don't
What?
I don't know if anybody saw that coming, but
I
I'm just
didn't.
putting that out there for you. Freddy's back. Kristen starts having bad dreams again. And again, they bring in this house, the house from the original film. And I've mentioned this a couple times, but they've brought it up in every single film. But one thing I don't understand is later on in this film, they're like, that's Freddy's house. I'm like, but is it? Because that's not where he was burned alive. That's not where he was buried, not where he died. It just happened to be the house Nancy lived in when he started to invade her dreams. And it's one of those things where they're trying to build it like it's the Myers house. The Myers house, Michael made his first kill there.
Right.
And this, I mean, yeah, stuff happened there, but you see what I'm saying? It's just they're really trying
Yeah.
to build this house up.
Yeah, they're trying to build it up and they have nothing to build it with. I mean, the significance of the house is that it was Nancy's house and it was across the street from Johnny Depp's house. That's the significance of the house. I don't think if there is a connection between Nancy's mom and the glove in the furnace in the first one and
Right.
Freddy's presence in the house that was kind of explored in number two. I can grasp at strings and connect dots that I have to invent myself. But no minute on screen has explained why this house is so important to every single movie, but it is.
Correct. Yep. And hey, if you're in the comments and let us know because we might not.
We're missing something.
We're missing something. So Kristen starts having bad dreams again, and she pulls Joey and Kincaid in her dream. She's like, guys, help me. And they're like, stop, Freddy's gone, which is the cardinal sin. Anytime you say he's gone, he's dead. He ain't dead. We know that. So Kincaid starts having a nightmare, and they're kind of back in the junkyard where they had that final battle at. And Kincaid wakes up and he's got his dog with him. His dog's name is Jason. I don't know if that's a jab at Jason or not, or just a funny, I don't know. Maybe they just named the dog Jason.
It's a little tongue-in-cheek thing. They did it intentionally. Let's be honest.
So Jason um, hisses on Freddy's grave and it ignites into flames and Freddy comes back alive. And one of the things I do like about this film, which I feel like we said this a lot in this series, and I think we will continue to, is they really nailed the special effects. This scene where Freddy's like bones, like in his skin, like rejuvenates. I love that scene. That scene is like, it's gross, but it's so cool to watch. I think they did this series, and I'll keep talking about it later on as we review it, but they did a great job in this film with the special effects.
Yeah, there will always be a case for practical effects over special effects. You know, the Thing, parts of Dream Warriors before this, you know, The Fly, practical effects, The Blob, dude. Practical effects will always look better than CGI. Always 100% of the time. CGI might look great for CGI. Avatar 2 might look awesome, but you didn't build that with your hands though. So
That's true. That's true. It's like for me, like this is when it comes to like writing, I hate writing on a laptop. I love writing stuff on a piece of paper and
it's
with a
got to be
pen.
tangible. Yeah,
It's different for me. So, but no one cares about that. We're here to talk about this movie.
right.
So after that, he ends up killing Kincaid, which Kincaid thinks he kills him at first because he throws a car on him, but he really comes back and he's like, I'll see you in hell. And then Freddy, stabs him with the glove. A lot more glove kills in this franchise than I really remember. So yeah, he kills him and he's back. And then we cut to another scene where he's going after Joey. And this is kind of somewhat of a throwback to the first film with Johnny Depp laying in bed, watching TV, have the headphones on. You've also got Joey kind of doing the same thing. And then he's in this water bed and he thinks he's seeing this woman. And we know from the past film, he's kind of starting to get into girls a lot. And, Freddy pulls him underneath the water bed and he kills him. And it's so pretty much within like the first 20 minutes, we've already got two of the characters from the last film that have been wiped out immediately. And some people might not like that, and some people do. Does it have any effect on you, or do you not care?
I just think it's weird that you would even bring him back if you're just going to kill him in the first act, anyways. I mean, it it really is kind of more of a show that they're grasping at strings story wise, because the whole point of bringing the three Dream Warriors back just for the first act, let's call it what it is. The whole purpose was just so Kristen can give Alice the powers. That's
Right.
it. Because they said in the last movie, these are the last of the Elm Street kids. So the
Right.
kids in this movie have no connection to Freddy or Elm Street. So they really kind of they fudged the numbers on this one. They really kind of just built the
Yeah.
bridge where there was none, just so they could have a fourth movie. I saw
Right.
right through that. I didn't think it was natural. I didn't think it unfolded organically. I wasn't crazy about it. As far
Yeah.
as killing the Dream Warriors, it is what it is. What were they going to do otherwise? Just make Dream Warriors again? No, of course they weren't. So you
Correct.
did what you had to do, but why did you have to do it in the first place? Is my attitude.
Yeah. No, I see your point. I'm not really for it or against it. I mean, you see so many sequels, especially in horror, when people get brought back and they're killed for no reason. It's like, okay, I get it, but whatever. So then I'm getting killed off. And Kristen is all alone. She's by herself all over again. And this is kind of when we start to get introduced to our new characters. We've got Rick, which is her friend. You've got Dan, and then you've got Alice. Alice will eventually become our lead girl. So we get introduced to these characters, and again, they're in front of Freddy's house. And like I mentioned earlier, excuse me, a house, which
Mhm.
they say is Freddy's house. And they kind of start talking about all this stuff, and eventually, she's Kristen's really having a tough time at school. Freddy's back, her friends are dead. It's like, oh man. And the mom from the first movie is back. Now, if you remember from part 3, her mom, she's kind of like, this isn't real. You're just a drama queen, blah, blah, blah. Typical, like,
Mhm.
snobby mom that just doesn't listen to her kids or care. Because, hey, like I said, if you're 3 movies into this and all the kids keep saying they're seeing the same guy in their dreams and they keep dying, what do? Just don't believe them. Just don't believe them.
Yeah, I think this movie has the least parents in it.
Yeah.
The condescending parents of the franchise, they just up and gone away. They're just like, okay. Her mom makes an appearance, Alice's dad makes an appearance, but other than that,
Yeah.
parents are pretty much absent in this movie.
Sure. Yeah, I think they've all moved away. I think they're like, okay, I've had enough.
Oh yeah, good luck, you got it.
Good luck. So, and then we get to the scene where Alice is back at or Kristen's back at the house with her mom, and they're arguing. And her mom, as any good mom would do when their child needs a good night's rest, is she drugs her drink and tries to make her go to sleep.
Heck
And
yeah.
I love when my mom does that. I'm like, Mom, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for doing it. Now I can finally die. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what she tells her. She's like, "Is like you just caused me to get murdered. Take that to your therapy." And pretty much she goes upstairs and like get this camel work. She's spinning around. She passes out, and she gets in this dream. And Freddy's there, and there's no waking her up this time because there's no one around to save her. Her friends are dead. She's been put to sleep. Her mom doesn't care, and she gets in the stream. Freddy's there, and before she ends up getting killed, before Freddy gets the last person, she brings in Alice. And when she does this, since she's the last Elm Street kid, when she does this, she gives her powers to Alice before she dies. And when she does that, Freddy, kind of throws her in this furnace and she gets burned alive. And Freddy goes with another classic line, "How sweet, fresh meat." And he does that. And so now we've introduced to our new character, our new lead. She has the dream warrior powers, essentially. They've been passed on. Alice, or excuse me, I keep getting their names mixed up. Kristen is dead now, and they run into the room. She's on fire on the bed. She's dead. All the original Elm Street kids are gone. Alice and these new kids are the new characters. Alice has all the powers.
Yeah, as shoehorned in as it is that I just said, I kind of like Alice. I kind of like Alice better than Kristen. Um, she's no Nancy, but I think she has a little bit more going on behind the eyes than Kristen did. And then you you get into the second act. Suddenly, you got this new group of teenagers, a girl, a boy, a girl, a boy, and they start getting picked off by Freddy. And I'm surprised how much it kind of I'm surprised how much my cat is clawing at the fucking door trying to get in here. I'm surprised at how much it retreads the first movie in terms of story beats from here.
Yeah.
It really takes notes from the first movie rather than the third one. I felt a lot of whiplash, being like, this sounds so familiar. Like I got a lot of they took notes from the first movie rather than the third movie. And I as far as the characters, I wouldn't say they're anything special. They are the archetypes that you would expect in an 80s high schooler movie. You got the doughy-eyed main girl. You've got the rebel kid who's actually sincere. You've got the jock with the jacket. You got the punk girl. So pretty archetypal. And I wouldn't say they wowed me, but I was engaged enough.
I'm going to bring up a point, but before that, I forgot to mention something, which is a really awesome scene in this movie that I love, is when Kristen falls asleep. Earlier in the movie, she's having this conversation with Alice, and they're talking about this dream poem or whatever, and keeping bad dreams away. And, she's in control of her dreams. Well, she tried like go to a happy place type deal. Well, when she falls asleep, she wakes up on a beach. And when she does, we get this awesome scene of Freddy doing his Jaws impersonation. He's got these claws and it's like going in the water and it's like going like that, like a shark. And then Freddy ends up coming out and he bursts on the sands. You have Freddy Krueger, a horror movie icon, on the beach, and Alice is trying to. If I do it one more time, I swear. Kristen is running on the beach and she's trying to run away. She gets stopped in this quicksand, and Freddy's there, and he shoves his foot on top of her, and he puts on his sunglasses. He's like, "Yeah, I'm Freddy Krueger." I don't give a shit. I love it. And
Yeah.
I
uh,
I love that because yes, it is campy. It's not the Freddy I prefer, but at this point, they're going fully onto it, and I they did it in a way where it's fun, where you want to root for Freddy. Not in the last film, it was still kind of like he's scary, he's not scary. I don't. In this one, he's full on like MTV Freddy, like they say in this movie. This is the MTV version of Freddy Krueger, and I got to be honest. I know it sounds different than what I like, but I like this.
yeah, I'm getting the vibe from a lot of people that they like that too. And I think that's paramount to why he became who he is later on after this movie. Um, it's funny you mentioned rooting for him because, as we've said before, rooting for the villain means you failed as a writer. Um, you know, once you start rooting for the murderer, how bad is your movie? But I get what you're saying about rooting for him because he's fun. He's fun to watch. He owns the screen. I mean, his screen
Yeah.
presence just dominates. So Robert Englund, absolute A tier in terms of horror. The beach sequence, I get the whole go to your happy place thing, but that was a very yeah, I'm used to seeing him in a dark alley or a boiler room or was concealed in shadow. So to see him on a beach as bright as you could possibly be on Earth, that's that right there. I within that moment, that first act, you broke my cardinal rule number one. Don't show me the
Uh,
monster. You showed me it way too well. Left nothing to the imagination. The shark fins, I get it. Jaws, I get it. But
man,
I love seeing Freddy put on some glasses. It's badass, but let's take it for what it is.
fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So we got that out of the way. Back to what we were talking about. And this is the point I was going to make before that. You mentioned in this movie that they go back to basics. A lot of the things they do in this film, they kind of did in the first film. So I think this is interesting to me because to me, this movie, part four, is very similar to Halloween 4, in which it goes back to basics and
Mhm.
it does what the first film does well in some ways, in some aspects. And I think that's why maybe I enjoyed it as much as I did.
And it came out same year as Halloween 4. They were getting made at the same time. So ironic. And that's not the only connection it's got with Halloween 4 either. Is Halloween 4's main girl, Jamie's sister, auditioned for the role of Alice, I believe.
Oh,
In
wow.
this, yeah, that Jamie's older sister in Halloween 4 auditioned for that and the role of Alice in this movie. She ended up winning Halloween 4. Good pick. But yeah, that's funny that there's the going back to your roots that you mentioned that's coming out the same year. This movie's got a lot in common with Halloween 4. I can't sing its praises like I sung Halloween 4's, but it is what it is.
If you have not seen our Halloween 4 review, go check it out. It's Jeff's favorite.
Absolutely.
So we've got to this point now. We've got these new characters. We got the fit girl, Debbie. Then you got the smart girl, Sheila, and then you've got the jock and Dan, and then you got the punk kind of karate kid. I don't really know what is
With the
Rick
spiky hair.
with the spiky hair. The worst haircut I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I wouldn't really call it a haircut. It's more of just gel, but still,
Yeah.
I'm
It was
sorry, man. I know
big
it's
back
the
then.
80s.
Yeah.
I guess so. I guess so. I'm sorry, Rick. I wasn't a fan. So we get this part, and then this is when we kind of start to see Alice kind of take over. And now that she has all these powers, Freddy is kind of leached onto her. And so now he's leached onto her friends. So in different ways, we start to see kind of these other characters get killed throughout the film. Rick, who I'm pretty sure I could be saying that Rick is that Kristen's brother. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay, yeah,
No, 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 no. It's
it's
it's Alice's brother.
Alice's brother. Okay, that's what it was. So uh, either way, his thing is he's like into karate and like self-defense and like nunchucks and all kinds of stuff. And that's how he ends up dying. We'll get to that in a second. But this other girl, Sheila, she's kind of like a nerdy, like book smart girl.
With
And
asthma.
with asthma, which would lead to her demise. And Dan, he's like the jock, the kind of big buff football player type deal. And her parents are like, you don't need to be over here talking to this crazy girl. You got football to worry about. All that deal. So, and if you didn't catch it, most people have caught it. Um, Alice works at the Crave Inn.
Wah, wah.
It's so hokey, but I love it. I'm
It
sorry, I
is.
do.
Yeah, we get it. And Wes Craven, Wes Craven being shouted out in a movie that he either directly or indirectly is a part of, but didn't direct. That happens a few times actually. In the latest, and not the latest, but the second latest Scream 5, the one with Jenna Ortega.
Correct.
They have a party for a character named Wes, and they have a banner that says "Thank you, Wes," because Wes Scream is Wes Craven's
Correct.
masterpiece. So they have a thank you, Wes. So it's cool to see the Crave In. Like, I get it, Craven.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's a funny little throwback. It's a nice nod.
Yeah.
And so in this movie, we have there's a setting where they're in the classroom. It is Alice and Sheila. They're in the class, and we have our Robert Shea appearance. He's the teacher in this movie because he's has to show up in every Nightmare on Elm Street film somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this awesome scene where Alice falls asleep and Sheila kind of falls asleep as well, or something like that, and she's dragging her into her dreams because they're her friends, and Freddy is feasting on their fear or whatever. And we get I the scene is hilarious to me, but I love this kill where Freddy's like the teacher all of a sudden after they fall asleep, and he goes up to the Sheila girl, and she has asthma. So we see that throughout parts of the film. And Freddy walks up to her and he just grabs her. He's like, "You want to suck face?" And he literally sucks the life out of her, and her body like shrivels up and like shrinks. And it's kind of disgusting to look at, but it's also really funny. And I think it's just a fun way that I love this movie. I love this kill. I do.
What a depiction of asthma, like what a fitting death for the asthma character, I guess.
So yes, she ran out of breath. She got the life sucked out of her, literally.
Oh.
And then as we cut to real life, she's like having an asthma attack. She can't breathe. She ends up dying. And then all the other characters, they're like, "Oh my god, our friend's dead." So then we jump to Rick, who he's in the bathroom stall. I think he was like waiting on some chick or something, and he's trying to get with, and he ends up falling asleep in the bathroom, and he ends up seeing Alice. No, he doesn't see Alice. He sees Kristen, because
There
I'm
you
gonna
go.
get the names right. He sees her in the dreams, and when he does, she's kind of like, "Hey," she's like kind of flirty, and then she turns around, she's got the burnt face because she died earlier, and then all of a sudden he gets transported into this dream where he's in like Japan or Tokyo or something, and he ends up fighting Freddy Krueger with nunchucks and all this stuff because that's his thing. And apparently in this movie, or in this scene, they did not have enough money to do like a Freddy Krueger like nunchuck fight. So they ended up making him invisible, because in the scene he ends up fighting an invisible Freddy, and he ends up being killed with like a glove invisibly.
Oh my god. They're like, "We
So
don't have the money for the makeup artist today. Just you're invisible and
look,
you're in the dream."
we ran out of money. Robert Englund is out. He's already flown out. We got to do something. Hey, get that glove. Make
He's
that
there,
thing
but you
fly.
can't see him. Oh.
So he ends up getting killed. So Alice is already down two of her friends, and she's like, what are we gonna do? She's picking up their abilities when this happens, though. She picks up the smarts, and then she picks up the kung fu and the stuff from her friend. And I know it sounds hokey on this review, but the way it's done in the film, like, it's fun to me, and I enjoyed it. I know that's going against everything I've said in the first couple of reviews, but to me, the way it happens, I know it's going to be campy and funny, and it just lands and it works for me. It does.
It's 80s fun. If they tried it now, obviously it wouldn't fly. If they tried it in the 70s, it wouldn't fly. It's 80s fun. It is what it is. I got to talk about that karate scene, man. in Dream Warriors, when the nerd kid stood up and became the wizard,
Yeah.
I had to like, I had to like cringe and wince and look away from the screen for a little bit for that whole sequence. Same thing happened in this karate scene. He started doing, he started doing that. I was like, I looked away, man. I couldn't watch it. It was just so. Ugh.
So I think what you're trying to say is that he was Busta Rhymes before Busta Rhymes.
Buster Rhymes wishes.
He wishes. Freddy's character in Halloween wishes he was as good as this
Wishes.
kid with nunchucks and kung fu, but he's not. So after that happens, you know, these characters are dying, they're getting killed off. It's all happening again, and we have this. She gets with Dan, who's kind of like her crush in the movie, and we see he I think he might be new to the town. If he's not, I could be wrong, but I do know that he comes into the Crave Inn where she works, and she kind of starts to get a crush on her, and we get this scene where in the beginning she's like, my biggest fear in life, and I'm talking about Alice. Her biggest fear in life is being stuck in Springwood forever and working at this diner. Well, we get this scene that kind of happens where, she's in this dream, like she's in a dream or whatever, and is in the Crave Inn, and I don't know if this happened before. What I'm getting ready to get to, I just want to talk about the scene because I like it. There's this sequence where she is like walks into a theater to watch a movie or whatever, and she's there with all of her dead friends, and they're all watching her, and she gets like thrown into like the movie screen,
Into the Craven.
into the Crave Inn, and then she turns around, and all her dead friends are like watching. That's kind of creepy. Like it's kind of I like that.
Yeah, it's I think that's more dream logic.
Yeah,
That I mentioned that I like before. I like dream logic. Things that I could see in my dreams, like jumping into a movie through a screen. I could see that happening in a dream. So yeah, I
right.
like it. And the sequence in the Craven where she goes in, she finds herself as the waitress, but old, meaning her fear has come true. She's been there her whole life, and she's greeted by Freddy, and they share a meal together, don't they?
They do. They share a meal together, and you know what they eat? They eat some good old soul food.
Sure
And
do.
this is what happens when she gets thrown in there. Her biggest fear in life is working at this diner forever. And so she goes into the Crave Inn and she sits down, and the waitress is her, but she's older. And she looks at her and she's like, "What do you want? I'm not going to sit here forever."
Mm.
Get it?
Get it?
And she kind of looks at her and she's like, "Oh." And then she brings this pizza, and Freddie's sitting beside her. And this scene is it's so hammy, but I love it. I really do. I do like it. And he's got meatballs on these pizzas, and it's like the faces of kids. And Freddie just takes his claw and he's like, "My favorite soul food." And he like, picks it up, and the little meatball's like, "Ah."
Cool imagery, but I don't know a single meatball that's covered in caramel like that one was. That one was really goopy. He picked it up; it was like dripping caramel syrup, and ugh, it was gross. Scene.
Oh yeah. So Freddie eats that, and she's in this dream, and then I think she ends up waking up. And so after that, she's like, me and Dan, we gotta figure this out. We gotta, and I could be in the wrong order of this. If I am, I apologize. But eventually, at some point in this film, her and Dan kind of get together and like, hey, we got to take down Freddy. I know what I need to do. And this is one of my favorite parts of the movie. That when the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, and have I already seen this before? Yes, I have, because they keep doing this sequence where they are asleep and Freddy is controlling the dream, and you keep seeing the same thing over and over and over, but keep seeing the scene where they keep running to Dan's truck and like, we gotta go, like, let's get in, let's drive, we gotta find Freddy. And it happens like 5 times in a row, and then eventually after the third time they're like, wait, haven't we done this before? And that's such a like a deja vu. Haven't I seen this in my dream before? And
Mm-hmm.
I love that. That's an A+ scene for me.
Yeah, more dream logic. It's funny because when that scene happened, I didn't know what was going on. I was watching the movie on my PC, and that happened where they ran around the corner again. It was the same exact shot, same sounds and everything. I thought I hit the keyboard. I thought I rewinded it like 30
Yeah.
seconds. I was like, oh shit. I went back. It took me a minute to figure it out. I was like, oh, it's a movie doing that. I thought I screwed up. So it got me. It tricked me.
And I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right when I say this. This is Robert Englund's favorite scene in the whole franchise.
Which one? The next kill?
No, the rewind sequence where they keep running
Really?
back, and that's what he said. Yeah. I'm
Huh.
pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I had to look it up again, but I think he said that's his favorite scene in the whole franchise is that because he likes the psychology of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It is dream logic. So that works out.
Yeah. So, and then eventually, you know, we get into the scene and they're, they're driving and they end up getting an accident and they kind of run into Freddie on the road and they run into each other and you know Alice is kind of all messed up, but Dan's like knocked out, he's bleeding and all that stuff. So, um, what she does is that he's kind of dead, like asleep. He's not dead, but he's on the way to the hospital. And she's like, man, if they put him to sleep for surgery, like he's not going to wake up. And he's like,
Yeah.
don't put me to sleep. Don't put me to sleep. But
Mhm.
you know, if you've ever had surgery before, a serious surgery, they have to put you to sleep.
I have to.
Yes. So that is a great concept where you're being put to sleep literally, and there's nothing that you can really do about it.
Yeah.
So Alice tries to go to sleep and wake Dan up. And she is successful, but when she does that, she is able to get in his dream while he's put asleep. But when she does that, the doctors are able to save him and they're like, you're good, we pulled you through. And he's like, no, put me back to sleep, which is the complete opposite was what someone would say. So she is stuck all by herself in kind of the final battle to face Freddy.
Yeah. And we forgot to mention on the way to the surgery, we're on a time crunch, right? He's going to get put under. And once he gets put under, he's going to be a victim of Freddy. We're on a time crunch. Stop. 3-minute dress up session in front of the mirror. I want to wear my costume. Let me get my fist straps. Let me get my device and my leather jacket. Let me take down the pictures from my mirror and look at it. Let me have a dramatic suit up moment in the mirror while he's like at risk of getting killed.
I I
that bothered me.
I think I gotta be. I
It's
like it,
80s,
man.
dude.
It's 80s. It's an 80s like get ready
It was
montage.
very 80s.
She's putting on the bandana like Rick had. She's bringing out the nunchucks. And then I could never figure out what it was that Sheila had. It's like some like contraption. I don't know. And she like puts it in her pocket. I don't know.
Some kind of sound sonic weapon thing. I don't never
I
was
don't.
really explained.
I don't know. She should have brought an inhaler with her or something.
Should have had an inhaler. That was sonic weapon.
It's just like, all right, I'm ready. And then she looks in the mirror. She's like, yeah, I'm ready to kick some ass. And it's so 80s. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. And in my case, I ended up liking it. So we have that, you know, she goes into the dream. Dan ends up getting pulled out because his surgery is successful. And he's like, oh, crap, she's all alone by herself. And I think in the beginning of the film, don't we see this church where where Kristen originally sees Freddy kind of come back. It's like in this dream where they're like in this church or whatever, because I think isn't the nun back again in the very beginning of the film, but it's played by a different actress.
No, I think you're thinking of the next movie.
I could be thinking, okay, I'm sorry, I
I
could
think
be
you
thinking
are.
of the next one. Anyway, they ended up getting in this fight or whatever, and when they do this, they're both fighting each other. Freddy's got the upper hand, and he's kind of giving her the business. And we get to the scene where he's about to take her out pretty much, and she remembers back to the beginning of the movie where she was told about this Dream Master poem and how it can control your dreams and you can be able to keep the boogeyman away or something like that. And she kind of thinks about that and she says it, and she takes this piece of glass and she reflects it, and Freddy sees himself, and by doing this, like, I guess it hurts him, something like that.
Pretty vague, but yeah, basically evil is looking into itself, which then he becomes killed in an awesome way. He ends up getting devoured by the souls of all his victims, who are like reaching out from his body and prosthetic and practical effect horror and ripping them
Yes.
apart. Super dope. Oh my god. Favorite death scene of a horror icon, I think. Super, super dope. Very cool. Don't really care about the delivery of it, but the what I see on the camera looked really good.
Yeah, dude, this movie is a lot of good special effects, like I said. And in this part of the movie, you've got the souls of the kids, which we see him earlier in the movie. So, like when Freddy kills, he collects their souls and he kind of takes off his shirt, and like their faces are like coming out of his burnt body and stuff. It's really cool looking. And like you said in this one, evil looks at itself, and then all the souls start to escape, and their arms are coming out. And they're like grabbing onto stuff, and they're like grabbing onto Freddy and like pulling his. I mean, it's top notch stuff, man. I loved it.
Yeah, I like it a lot. They've definitely put a lot of the budget into that. Um, One of the weakest aspects of this movie to me was the kills. We've seen some creative kills and some creative reasons for kills in previous movies. This one, probably because of budget or time constraints. Um, you mentioned earlier this had a lot of glove kills. That's because the other movies didn't. The other movies had creative kills. This one, invisible hand, a waterbed. Uh, what was Kincaid's? How did Kincaid get killed? He was just
Um,
stabbed, right?
you got stabbed with the glove, yeah.
He just stabbed. The kills in this movie are pretty lackluster, save for one best kill of the franchise. Probably it was the girl who works out. We didn't even mention it
Well, I was getting
earlier.
ready to bring that up, yeah.
Early in the movie, she's seen killing a cockroach, and they're like, "Oh, don't do that; it deserves to live," or whatever. Third act of the movie comes around, and we get some very unexpected practical effects.
Yeah, I'm watching that scene. I'm like, dude, what is going on? This girl is turning into like a cockroach, and dude, it's gross looking, man.
It's
Like,
gross and it's real. It's not CGI.
no, it's real. Like, it looks great. And like you said, there's this girl. Really didn't mention her too much, but Debbie, she likes to work out. And we get this scene where
Debbie's the asthma girl.
oh, sorry.
I think. I don't know. We'll just call her workout girl.
Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking
You
about.
know
The
what I'm talking
girl
about.
is working out and in her basement, and Freddie comes into her dream, and she's sitting there, she's like bench pressing, and we get this great scene where she goes up and Freddie, Freddie like is spotting her at the top, and he grabs it and he like pushes her arm down, and like her arm bones like snap out of her arms. I mean, it's
I thought
great.
that was gonna be it. I thought that was it.
I thought that was it too, and I was
Like
like, oh,
choked with a bar or something like that.
yeah, I thought he was like gonna snap her arms and then like drop the bar on like her neck and something like
Yeah.
that, and it would be over. But at this point, she starts to grow like cockroach like arms out of where that happened, and she turns into like a full-fledged like cockroach.
Yeah.
And it's pretty gross looking, man. And we get this scene where like earlier, she steps on the bug and it's like got this like yellow like blood and guts. She falls down and she's like stuck to this thing. So it's like a bug trap that she's inside.
Yeah.
She's like stuck to it. And then she's pretty much like a full-on cockroach at this point. And we look out, Freddy's like holding this like cockroach trap, and he just like snaps it with his fingers, and it's gross. I love
Yeah.
it.
All the lackluster creativity of the kills before this are made up for with this. That was a crazy good kill. Crazy good time and effort went into that. I would be hard pressed to find a kill better than that, except for maybe one of the ones in the first movie. That was fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely one of the better kills in the franchise. Super creative and fun, and I liked it. And like I said, in this movie, Freddy is. What do you think about Freddy in this movie? I mean, he's hokey at times, but like I said earlier, for me, it's the right amount of. They're going full on like Freddy's like cool, like he's fun, but it's not like we see in the later films where it's just like dumb and stupid. It hits the right amount for me, at least. It hits the right amount of it being fun, and like you're kind of rooting for Freddy, but not like the this movie sucks. I was rooting for him because I just liked his character. It was just so much fun.
Yeah, it's I don't know the next movies well enough to compare, so I'm gonna go in blind here. This is the most campy fun he is to date. Um, he has a very good screen presence, and he's very fun to watch. But I'm not scared of this Freddy. This Freddy is not scary to me. He does not seem like someone who would haunt my dreams. He just seems like a maniac who's has fun killing people. Okay, it's cool, but it's not. This is probably the least scary Freddy's been the franchise so far. Uh, but can't be fun. 80s. That's the trade off. It ain't for me, but it's for other people.
Correct. So, yeah, that is pretty much what happens in this film. And Freddy is defeated. His he's torn apart. His clothes fall down, and he's done. Freddy is dead. But
Again,
again, and I'm not talking about the movie Freddy's Dead. I'm talking about he's dead in this movie. So that is pretty much the end of the film. At the very end, her and Dan, they're together, they're like, oh, boyfriend and girlfriend, we made it, we're alive. They go to this water fountain, and they make a wish. She flips a coin, and then when it hits the water and it kind of ripples, she sees Freddy's reflection, and you're like, ah, I knew it. I knew it was coming back.
that was the worst tease of the franchise so far. That was it. I love the convertible car roof. You can't top that. The light coming on in the dollhouse in the last movie was a better tease than a reflection of nothing in a fountain in daylight. I thought that was so lazy, honestly. I didn't like that tease at all. Could have done without it. Could do without any tease, and I think a movie would be stronger. But if you're gonna tease them, which obviously you have to, I probably would have put a little bit more thought into it.
Yeah, I do agree with you there. It is a pretty weak tease. I'd honestly rather see Freddy just like jump out of the fountain
Yeah, like
than
jump out of
like,
the fountain and like pull Dan in or something, like a
yeah,
callback to the mom in the first one.
correct. And this one, it's subtly mentioned. You're just like, oh, there's this reflection, and he's not there. It's like you're kind of past the point where it's like you can't really do subtlety anymore.
Yeah, you
And this
can.
franchise,
He's coming back.
yeah, he's coming back. So that is pretty much a Nightmare on Elm Street for the Dream Master. So Jeff, I'm gonna turn it over to you. And by the way, I want to say this: if there's some stuff we left out on this film, which I'm sure there is, I watched this movie like a week and a half ago, and we just have not had time to review it. And I was like, dude, we need to do this. And so if there's stuff I missed, I'm sorry. If stuff was out of order, I apologize. Let me know what you liked in the comments, something that I might have missed, because I would love to talk about it.
Yeah, no, I think you pretty much hit on all the pillars of the story. One thing we didn't really mention, not really mention worthy, but I got to mention it because I hate it so much. It's the scene when I guess Asthma Girls dies,
Yeah.
and Alice is like hanging out at the front of the school, and she starts crying about it, and she stomps off into the hallway and slides her back against the locker and slides down, and starts crying, and Dan looks at what's his name, Rick,
Rick,
Richard,
yeah, Rick.
Rick. He looks at Rick. He's like, I don't know. I think the story's really getting there. And Rick just goes completely overacting. He's just like, we're dropping off like flies here. And he sprints down the hallway as fast as he can, almost Naruto running down the hallway. 20 feet, I might add, to go coddle his crying sister. Like, dude, let me tell you what didn't need to happen. You running 20 feet down the hallway. That
Oh
didn't
my
need to happen
goodness.
at all. I watched that scene a bunch of times. He's like, we're dropping off like flies here. And the dude runs 20 feet down the hallway. It's so funny. Um,
That actually is really funny. I remember you Snapchatting me that scene when you watched the movie, and
oh,
I didn't really think about it, so I had to go back and look. And yeah,
it's so corny, so overacted, but it's 80s cheese, We like cheese in this house. Um, that's pretty much the movie, man. Let's get into ratings. I'll go first. Got to give it the four cardinal rules. I already said you broke the first one. First one being don't show me the monster. What could be said? You got Freddy on a beach in broad daylight.
yes,
You broke the rule. Rule number two: be scary at all times, not just when the threat is on screen. I feel like I always give this one to Freddy because he is always on screen, or he is always a threat. One thing that we didn't really mention that this movie adds to the franchise, adds to the lore, is her Alice's dad calls her a daydreamer. She's always daydreaming. And that's a concept that had never been explored in a Freddy movie before this. So the idea of daydreaming and like zoning out and daydreaming, and he can appear through that,
Mhm.
cool touch. You added to the book of Freddy. I like that. Good call. Works out well for the character. Works out well for the mystery of scary at all times, not just when she's sleeping. So, hey, daydreaming, very nice. You're scary at all times, not just when the threat is on screen. I'll give you that one. Don't over rely on jump scares. Freddy doesn't really rely on jump scares. Freddy relies on scary imagery and dream logic and nightmare imagery. So yeah, I'll give you this one again. So you're up to a C now. And then the last one's push the boundaries. You didn't push the boundaries this one. You retreaded the same steps as the first one, albeit less so. If I had one word to describe this movie, it would be rushed. It felt very rushed and didn't feel very flushed out. Felt very bare bones. Halloween 4 felt bare bones, but at least it was for beginning, middle, and end a good story. This one was just two-act story. The first act really didn't matter. So I'm not going to say you pushed any boundaries with this one. You didn't really do anything that movies of the time haven't been doing already. You didn't revolutionize the Freddy franchise. So no, I can't give you that one. You're in the C range. Minus, flat, plus. I get what you're saying about it being campy and fun and it being enjoyable. But I watched this twice for the review last week. And I just got to say, this movie was pretty mid to me, honestly. Pretty forgettable, not horrible. I know there's going to be worse. I can't say it's better than number three. I don't even know if it's better than number two. It's pretty bare bones. It's kind of a nothing burger to me, at least, because camp isn't my style. I'm going to give this one a C minus.
I'm ready to disagree with everything that you just said.
Lay it on me, dude. I want to hear it.
I like this movie a lot. I'm giving this movie a B minus.
Okay. All right.
Not too crazy of what you're saying, but I do like Freddy in this movie. I know in the first couple films, I'm like, hey, I like my Freddy dark. I like him scary. I like him mean. I don't want to see him. And that is true. I do. But in this film, the way it's shot and directed with the scenes they do, they knew that they wanted to make Freddy the star of these remaining films. It's no longer about Freddy being scary. It's about making money, having fun. And there are later films where they do it and it sucks. But in this movie, to me, they do it right. Freddy is not scary in this film. He's pretty much the star, but they do it in a way where he's still, to me at least, he's not scary, but he's still a presence. But when you see him, you want to see Freddy in this movie. When you see him on screen, you're like, oh, Freddy's going to do something funny. I have to see what he's going to do. And that's just a testament to Robert Englund. I think he did a fantastic job in this film. I like the character of Alice a lot. She's in the next movie too. I liked her. She's a simplistic character. She's not too over the top, too crazy, but she's just right in the middle. I like her growth in the movie. I think she just has an innocent feel to her that I really like. I didn't really care too much for the side characters in the film, her friends or whatever. We've got her dad, her friends, her dad that doesn't care about her and blah blah blah, all this stuff. But I don't really care about that. The characters are good enough for me to kind of latch on. They're definitely not the characters from the third film or the first by any means, not even the second. But I'm okay with it because I get a Freddy that is fun in this movie and I like. There are some creative kills that I do enjoy. You've got a couple Freddy one-liners, but to me, and I don't really know how else to describe this, but the way this film is like shot, I like a lot. I felt like I was watching an MTV music video from the 80s. And to me, while that's not what I come to a nightmare film for, if there's going to be a nightmare movie that I want to watch to have fun with, it's going to be this one because they found the perfect balance of it. And
Mhm.
I yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I like the way this movie was shot. I like some of the characters in the film, not all of them, but some. Freddy absolutely kills it. I love him on the beach putting his sunglasses on. He's like, damn right, I'm Freddy Krueger. I'm on the beach. I'm chilling. I got my sunglasses on. My skin is already burnt. I don't need any sunscreen. And I am loving the sun. And I just had fun with it. Tuesday night, she's not terrible in this movie. She's not bad. I'm okay with it. This is just one of those movies I feel like I could put on and just have a good time with. It makes me feel comfortable. It just made me feel like, hey, I don't need to watch 1, 2, 3, and 4 to see this movie. I should put this movie on and I can just enjoy it.
You make me want to rewatch it now. I give movies 3 chances, and I feel like you've convinced me enough to see it through a different lens, because I feel like I missed something, and hearing what you're saying, I clearly missed something. So I think I'm going to go back and rewatch it, and I'm going to rank it higher.
And I could, there's a lot more things I wanted to say, but like I said, I watched this like a week and a half ago, and I'm sure I'm missing a lot. I hate when I do that, but it is what it is. So yeah, I'm gonna give this movie a B-. I enjoyed it. I think Freddy's look in this film is pretty good too. It's not too different from the past film, but it's good enough. And like I said, I love the what a suck face. I love that scene. I love a couple of the kills in this movie. Yeah, the invisible kill with the glove is kind of stupid, but I do like Alice as the character, and yeah, I had a good time with this film. I'm gonna give it a B-.
Good. Ready for number 5 then? I've never seen number 5, so I'm ready for that one.
Boy, oh boy.
What do you know about it?
Number 5. Well, I've already watched number 5 in preparation for this, and
is that why your rating of number 4 is so good?
It could be. It's funny because doing this review, I'm also thinking of part 5 in my head. So what I did was I watched 4 and 5 back to back, and I was like, yes, I'm ready to review these movies. And now, like a week and a half later, I'm like, shit.
Yeah. I can't do that. I confuse the two.
I hope I don't do that again, but we try to watch them and then review them like a day or two after at the most.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been a Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Bastard. Next, we have a Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. So thank you guys for watching. If you haven't seen yet, go watch our previous reviews, get caught up. October, it's here. We're having fun. Thank you guys for tuning in. Every horror film will horrors forever. We'll catch you on the next one.
The mummy has now been located.
The living mummy. The living mummy.
Bullets won't stop.
Some creature out of time.
It was horrible. It was horrible.
He's completely out of control.
I saw those bodies.
Is he a man or a monster?
You actually knew a werewolf in a peaceful town where nothing ever happened.
It was horrible. It was horrible.
In the mystical regions of Transylvania.